The broken warship floated through space like a dead whale in a dark ocean. It turned slowly, pieces of metal and glass drifting around it like sad confetti. The ship had been beautiful once. Now it was just another grave in the endless black. Commander stood at the window of her own ship, the Gentle Dawn, and watched the wreck spin past. She had seen many dead ships in her 15 years of service. She had explored dozens of them, pulled valuables from their cold bellies, and sometimes found bodies that she sent home to grieving families. It was part of the job, but something about this ship made her stomach feel tight. "What do we know about it?" she asked without turning around. Her sensor officer was a quiet young man with soft eyes and gentle hands. He worked his console with the careful attention of a musician tuning an instrument. Warship, mid-class destroyer. The damage pattern suggests pirate attack, maybe 3 weeks old. Most systems are dead. Most turned now, one eyebrow raised. Hesitated, his fingers moved across the screen again. "I am getting one life sign, Commander, very weak, very small." He looked up at her with worry in his eyes. "It reads as juvenile." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what they were. Every spacefaring species knew. They were predators from a world where everything wanted to kill everything else. Their planet had twice the gravity of Earth, storms that could strip flesh from bone, and animals that made Earth's dinosaurs look like house pets. They had evolved to be the most dangerous things on their world, and then they had taken that danger to the stars. They had fought wars with almost everyone. They had destroyed colonies. They had earned a reputation as monsters. But they had children too. "Prepare a boarding team," said. "I will lead it personally." Doctor, who had been reviewing medical data in the corner, stood up sharply. "Commander, you cannot be serious. Even children are considered extremely dangerous. Their claws can cut through standard armor, and their bite carries enough bacteria to cause serious infection. Protocol says we should report the location and let the authorities handle it." "Protocol can wait," was already moving toward the door. "That child has been alone in that wreck for 3 weeks. I am not leaving her there one more hour." The boarding team consisted of 4 people. Led them, with carrying the portable scanner, bringing medical supplies, and a young security officer named Minu watching their backs. They crossed the gap between ships in a small shuttle, the wreck growing larger and more terrible as they approached. Up close, the damage was worse than had expected. Blast marks scorched the hull. Whole sections had been torn open to space. Whatever had attacked this ship had done so without mercy. They entered through a cargo bay door that Minu forced open with his tools. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Their flashlights cut through the blackness, revealing floating debris, scattered equipment, and the first of many bodies. There were large creatures, easily 2 meters tall when standing upright. They had scales instead of skin, ranging in color from deep green to almost black. Their eyes were large and could see in very low light. Their hands had 4 fingers, each ending in a curved claw that could extend or retract. They were built like warriors because that was what their world demanded. The dead ones floated past the boarding team like ghosts, counted 7, then stopped counting. It did not matter how many dead there were, only the living one mattered now. "Life sign is 50 meters ahead," said, his voice barely a whisper. "In the secondary cargo hold." They moved carefully through the ship. Everything was wrong here. The air recyclers had failed, so the atmosphere was thin and stale. The artificial gravity was offline, so they had to pull themselves along using handholds. Emergency lights flickered weakly in some corridors, casting red shadows that made the dead look like they were moving. At the door to the secondary cargo hold paused. She could hear something on the other side, a scratching sound, a low, rumbling growl that rose and fell like breathing. "Commander," Minu said quietly, his hand on his weapon, "let me go first." "No," pushed the door release. "Weapons stay holstered, all of you stay behind me." The door slid open, with a grinding sound of damaged machinery. The cargo hold was a mess. Containers had been thrown everywhere by the attack. Emergency rations were scattered across the floor, their packages torn open and emptied. In the corner, behind a makeshift wall of boxes, something moved. Two violet eyes appeared in the darkness. They glowed with reflected light from the flashlights, bright and wild and terrified. The cub could not have been more than 6 years old by human measurement. She was small for her species, barely reaching chest, with scales that should have been glossy green but were dull from hunger and stress. Her clothes were torn. Her claws were extended. Her teeth, sharp and numerous, were bared in a desperate snarl. She looked at and saw an enemy. She attacked. The cub moved faster than expected. One moment she was crouched in the corner. The next she was flying through the air with claws aimed at its throat. Raised her arm to block, and the claws raked across her environmental suit, leaving deep gouges in the reinforced material. "Commander," Minyu reached for his weapon. "I said stand down," did not raise her voice, but the command was absolute. She stepped back as the cub landed, then turned for another attack. The child hit her again, and again. Each strike was weaker than the last. The cub was exhausted. She had been fighting for survival for 3 weeks, alone in the dark with nothing but emergency food and the bodies of her family. She had no strength left, but she would fight until she could not move anymore. Finally, the cub collapsed. Her small body hit the floor and did not get up. A sound came from her throat, something between a growl and a cry. It was not a sound of anger. It was a sound of complete despair. Knelt down slowly. She removed her gloves, exposing her bare hands. Behind her made a worried sound but ignored it. "Little one," said softly, "I am not going to hurt you. I am not going to leave you. You are safe now." The cub's violet eyes stared at her. There was no trust in them. There was no hope. There was only exhaustion and pain and loneliness so deep it seemed bottomless. Reached out her hand. The cub bit her. Small teeth sank into the flesh between thumb and finger. Blood welled up immediately, bright red against her pale skin. Gasped. Minyu stepped forward, made a sound of distress. Did not move. She did not pull away. She did not cry out. She just smiled. "I understand," she said gently. "You are scared. You are angry. You have been alone for so long and everyone you loved is gone. You do not know how to do anything except fight because fighting is all you have left." The cub's jaw loosened slightly. Her violet eyes were wide with confusion. This was not how prey was supposed to act. "But I am going to tell you a secret," continued, her voice soft as a lullaby. "You are not really angry. You are not really fierce. You are just hungry, little one. Hungry for someone to hold you. Hungry for someone to tell you that everything will be okay." She leaned closer, ignoring the teeth still pressed against her skin. "You are just hungry for love, and I have plenty to give." The cub released her hand. She stared at for a long moment, her violet eyes searching for lies and finding none. Then she made a sound that no translator could interpret. A high, keening wail that came from somewhere deeper than language. It was the sound of a heart breaking open after being closed for too long. Gathered the small predator into her arms and held her while she screamed. Behind them, the dead ship floated on through the endless dark. But in that cold cargo hold, something warm was beginning to grow. The medical bay of the Gentle Dawn was a clean white room filled with soft lights and quiet machines. It was designed to be calming. It was designed to help people heal. But for the small child inside it, the room was just another cage. She had been there for 3 days. She had not eaten. She had not slept, at least not that anyone could see. She simply crouched in the corner of her bed, her violet eyes tracking every movement, her claws extended and ready. Every time someone entered, she attacked. Doctor had tried to approach her with food. The cub had launched herself at the doctor with enough force to knock her backwards into a cart of medical supplies. Was not hurt badly, just bruised and startled, but she did not try again. Had tried to speak to her through the door, his voice gentle and patient. The cub had responded by throwing everything within reach at the door until he went away. Even Minu, the security officer who had faced pirates and worse without flinching, was nervous around her. He stood outside the medical bay with his hand near his weapon, watching through the small window as the child paced like a trapped animal. "She is going to die if she does not eat soon," said during the third day's staff meeting. Her voice was tired and worried. "Her body is already weak from malnutrition. I do not know how much longer she can last." "Can we sedate her?" Minu asked. "Just long enough to give her nutrients through a tube." "We could," admitted, "but it would only make things worse. She would wake up confused and terrified, and whatever small amount of trust we might build would be destroyed." She looked at, who had been silent through the whole discussion. "Commander, I do not know what else to do." Had spent the last 3 days thinking. She had read everything she could find about culture, children, psychology. Most of it was written by people who feared so most of it was useless. But there were a few pieces of information that stuck with her. Children were not raised by their parents. They were placed in communal where they competed with other children for food, attention, and survival. The weak were left behind. The strong were rewarded. Love, in the way humans understood it, did not exist in their society. This child had never been held gently in her life. She had never been told that she was precious. She had never experienced kindness without expecting a price. "I will go to her," said. "Alone. No one else enters, no matter what sounds you hear." "Commander, that is dangerous," protested. "She almost took my eye out yesterday." "I know," stood up and straightened her uniform. "But she is not attacking because she wants to hurt us. She is attacking because it is the only way she knows how to communicate. She is saying that she is scared. She is saying that she does not trust us. She is saying that everyone she has ever known has either hurt her or left her, and she expects us to do the same." She walked toward the door. "I am going to show her that she is wrong." The medical bay door slid open, and stepped inside carrying a simple bowl of food. The synthesizers had worked for hours to create something close to what children ate. It was raw protein, red and wet, shaped into small pieces that would be easy for a young mouth to chew. The cub was on her feet immediately, her violet eyes locked onto with predatory focus. A low growl rumbled from her chest, a warning that said stay away or face the consequences. Did not stay away. She walked forward slowly, her movements calm and deliberate. She did not make eye contact, which considered a challenge. She kept her body loose and unthreatening. She was still several meters from the cub when the attack came. The child moved like lightning. She hit in the chest with enough force to knock her off her feet. They both fell to the floor, the bowl of food flying from his hand but somehow not spilling. The cub was on top of her immediately, claws pressed against her throat, teeth bared inches from her face. Did not fight back. She did not try to push the child away. She simply lay there, breathing slowly, looking up at those wild violet eyes. "Go ahead," she said softly. "If hurting me will make you feel better, then do it. I will not stop you." The cub froze. This was wrong. Prey was supposed to struggle. Prey was supposed to fight. That was the natural order of things. This human was not following the rules. Small claws pressed harder against throat. Thin lines of blood appeared on her skin, but still she did not move. "I am not going to leave you," said. "No matter how many times you hurt me, I will come back. No matter how many times you push me away, I will stay. You cannot scare me away, little one. You cannot make me abandon you." The cub's breathing was fast and shallow. Her eyes were wide with confusion. "Why?" The word came out rough and unused, as if she had almost forgotten how to speak. "Why you not fight?" "Because you are not my enemy," smiled gently, even with claws at her throat. "You are a scared child who has lost everything, and scared children do not need to be fought. They need to be loved." For a long moment, nothing happened. The cub stayed frozen above her, claws still extended, caught between attack and retreat. Her entire body trembled with exhaustion and emotion. Then something broke. It was not a physical thing. It was something inside the child, some wall that she had built to protect herself from a universe that had only ever been cruel. The wall cracked, and through the cracks came all the pain she had been holding back. The growl in her throat transformed into something else, a high, keening sound that no translator could make sense of. It was not words. It was pure feeling, pure grief, pouring out of her like blood from a wound. Sat up slowly, carefully gathering the sobbing child into her arms. The cub did not resist. She pressed her face against shoulder and screamed, her small body shaking with the force of her cries. How long they sat there did not know. Minutes stretched into something longer. The child's screams faded to sobs, then to whimpers, then to silence, but still held her, rocking gently back and forth, humming a lullaby that her own mother had sung to her many years ago. When the cub finally pulled back, her violet eyes were red and swollen. She looked up with an expression that was somehow both lost and found at the same time. "You stay?" the child asked in a small voice. "I stay," promised. "You not leave, like others." Touched the child's face gently, wiping away the last of her tears with her thumb. "I will never leave you. You are mine now, little one, and I protect what is mine." The cub was quiet for a moment. Then she leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his chest, a gesture that used only with those they trusted completely. "You need a name," said softly, stroking the child's head. "In my culture, names are very important. They carry meaning. They tell others who we are." She thought for a moment, looking at those violet eyes. "Bora," she decided. "It means purple in my grandmother's language, like your beautiful eyes." The cub, now Bora, tested the word in her mouth. "Bora," she said it again, stronger this time. "Bora." "That is you," smiled. "My Bora, my little purple-eyed girl." Bora was quiet for another moment. Then she did something that surprised them both. She bit shoulder, gently this time, not to hurt but to hold. It was a sign of bonding, of family, of belonging. And she did not let go for a very long time. Later, after Bora had finally eaten and finally slept, entered the medical bay to treat wounds. There were many of them, scratches and bites covering her arms and neck and hands. "You could have been killed," said quietly as she cleaned a particularly deep cut. "No," replied, watching Bora sleep peacefully for the first time since they had found her. "She never would have killed me. She just needed to know that I would not give up on her." "How did you know that?" Smiled, her eyes soft with an emotion that could not quite name. "Because someone did the same for me once, a long time ago, and it saved my life." Outside the medical bay window, the stars turned slowly, indifferent to the small miracle happening inside, but did not care about the stars. She only cared about the sleeping child who had finally found something she had never known before. A home. News traveled fast through the galaxy, faster than ships, faster than light, some said. By the time the gentle dawn reached the nearest human station, everyone already knew what they carried. A child, rescued from a wreck, being raised by humans. The reactions were not kind. Messages flooded the ship's communication system. Some were curious, asking questions about the child and her condition. Some were supportive, praising Commander for her compassion, but many, too many, were angry. They had been enemies of the Galactic Council for generations. They had attacked colonies without warning. They had killed millions of people across dozens of worlds. The wars against them had shaped the politics of the galaxy for centuries. And now a human ship was harboring one of their young. Some called it treason. Some called it worse. 3 weeks after Bora came aboard, the gentle Dawn received an official summons. The Galactic Council demanded their presence. Immediately. Captain read the message 3 times before calling his senior staff together. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes, the kind of man who seemed unshakable even in the worst situations. But even he looked troubled as he shared the news. "They want us to hand her over," he said quietly. "The council believes the child is too dangerous to remain with us. They want to take her into protective custody." "Protective custody," repeated, her voice flat. "We all know what that means." No one spoke, but everyone understood. Protective custody for an enemy species child meant imprisonment at best, execution at worst. The council did not believe in rehabilitation for the. They believed in elimination. "We cannot let them take her," said. He had grown attached to Bora over the past weeks, bringing her small gifts from the ship's garden, teaching her to play simple games. "She is just a child." "She is a child," Minyu replied, though his voice held no conviction. "The council sees her as a threat." "The council is afraid," said. "They have been at war with the for so long that they have forgotten how the war started. They see monsters everywhere, even in the eyes of a 6-year-old girl who cries when she has bad dreams." Captain was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, his decision made. "We will go to the council," he said. "We will hear what they have to say, but we will not give them Bora, not unless they can convince me that killing a child is the right thing to do." His eyes hardened. "And I do not think they can." The council chamber was located in neutral space, far from any planet or station. It was built inside a massive crystalline structure that floated in the void, beautiful and cold and ancient. Representatives from dozens of species gathered there to discuss the fate of the galaxy. And now, they gathered to discuss the fate of one small girl. Captain stood alone in the center of the chamber. Above him, arranged in rising circles like the seats of a stadium, the council members watched with hundreds of eyes. Some were humanoid, some were not. Some had forms that could barely comprehend, but all of them were focused on him. Ambassador of the collective spoke first. His species was tall and thin, with 4 eyes that could see in multiple spectrums simultaneously. He had lost family in the wars. His hatred was well known. "You harbor an enemy combatant's offspring," declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "They have slaughtered billions of innocent lives across this galaxy. They destroyed 3 of our colony worlds. Every one of their kind is bred for violence from birth. That creature you carry is not a child. It is a monster waiting to mature." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, waited for them to fade before responding. "With respect, Ambassador, you are wrong." His voice was steady and clear. "Bora is not a monster. She is a frightened little girl who watched her parents die in front of her. She spent 11 days alone in a wrecked ship, surrounded by bodies, eating emergency rations until they ran out. When we found her, she was so scared that she attacked anyone who came near her. Not because she was evil, because she had never known kindness." "A sad story," replied coldly. "It does not change what she is." "And what is she, Ambassador? A killer. She has never killed anyone, a warrior. She cannot lift a weapon. She is a child who has done nothing wrong except be born to the wrong species." Another voice spoke from the upper circles. It belonged to the High Arbiter, a being of light and energy who served as the Council's ultimate authority. "Captain, we understand your compassion, but you must understand our concern. They are genetically predisposed to violence. Their very biology makes them dangerous. Can you guarantee that this child will not become a threat as she grows?" "Can you guarantee that any child will not become a threat?" countered. "Humans have produced murderers and monsters of our own. So has every species in this chamber. Evil is not genetic. It is taught. And Bora is being taught something they never taught their children. She is being taught love." The chamber erupted in noise. Some voices agreed. Many did not, raised his hand for silence. "Pretty words," the ambassador said. "But words cannot change nature. They have been our enemies for centuries. Their cruelty is legendary. Their children are raised to kill before they can walk. This one may seem harmless now, but in a few years she will have claws that can tear through armor and teeth that can bite through bone. What then, Captain? Will your love protect you when she decides to follow her instincts?" Smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had made his peace with his choices. "I have served humanity for 40 years," he said. "I have fought in wars. I have made decisions that cost lives. And I have learned one thing above all others. Fear makes monsters of us all. When we look at others and see only threats, we become the very thing we fear. They became monsters because the galaxy treated them like monsters. They were isolated, attacked, pushed to the edges of civilization. What choice did they have but to fight back?" He looked up at the circles of watching eyes. Bora has a choice. For the first time in history, one of their children has a chance to grow up without violence, without hatred, without the endless cycle of war. She has a chance to become something new, something better, and you want to take that away from her. You want to kill a child because of what she might become. He shook his head. "No, I will not allow it. Humanity will not allow it." Leaned forward. "You would risk war over one child." "I would end one." His voice carried steel. "No child, regardless of species, will be executed on our watch. Take her from us if you can." The chamber went silent. Everyone knew what those words meant. Humanity was young compared to the other council species, but they were not weak. Their ships were strong. Their soldiers were brave, and they had a reputation for stubbornness that bordered on insanity. The council would have to fight to take Bora, and the cost of that fight would be enormous. The High Arbiter spoke again, his voice like wind chimes in a storm. "The council will deliberate. You will have our decision within one standard day." 1 day passed, then 2. On the 3rd day the message arrived. The council had decided not to pursue the matter. Bora would remain with the humans, but the message contained a warning as well. If the child ever harmed anyone, the humans would be held responsible. The weight of her actions would fall on their shoulders. Captain read the message aloud to his crew. When he finished, he looked at, who stood with Bora's small hand clutched in her own. "Well," he said with a tired smile, "it seems we have a new crew member." Bora looked up at him with her violet eyes. She did not fully understand what had happened, but she understood the important part. These humans had fought for her. They had stood against the entire galaxy for her. She released his hand and walked slowly toward the captain. Everyone watched, unsure what she would do. She stopped in front of, looked up at his kind face, and pressed her forehead against his leg in the gesture of family and trust. "Uncle," she said quietly. His eyes grew wet. He placed his hand gently on her head. "Yes," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Uncle, that sounds right." Outside the ship, the council chamber floated in its eternal darkness. Inside the ship, surrounded by people who had chosen to love her, a small girl smiled for the first time since her parents died. The galaxy had wanted to destroy her. The humans had decided to save her instead. That was simply what humans did. 6 months passed like water flowing through open hands. The gentle dawn continued its missions, exploring unknown regions of space, mapping new systems, making contact with distant civilizations. Life went on as it always did, but everything was different now because of one small passenger. Bora grew stronger every day. Her scales, once dull and rough from malnutrition, now shone with healthy green light. Her eyes, still violet and large, had lost their constant look of fear. She gained weight. She gained height. She gained something that the medical scans could not measure but everyone could see. She gained hope. Became her mother in everything but official documents. They shared quarters. They ate meals together. Every night, read stories to Bora before sleep. Human stories about knights who saved villages, about children who found magic in ordinary places, about families who stayed together through terrible times. Bora did not always understand the words, but she understood the feeling behind them. She understood that she was loved. The crew accepted her completely. Minyu, who had once been nervous around her, now let her ride on his shoulders through the corridors. Doctor taught her about medicine, showing her how to treat small wounds and identify common illnesses. Became her closest friend among the adults, spending hours teaching her to read star charts and understand the ship's navigation systems. But Bora did not speak. She understood everything that was said to her. She followed instructions. She laughed at jokes, though her laugh was a strange chittering sound that humans found delightful. She communicated through gestures and expressions and the occasional growl or purr. But actual words, spoken language that others could understand, did not come. Doctor ran every test she could think of. There was nothing physically wrong with Bora's throat or mouth or brain. She was capable of speech. She simply did not speak. It is trauma, explained to during one of their private meetings. Deep psychological trauma. In society, children are not encouraged to express weakness. Crying is punished. Asking for help is seen as failure. Bora learned very young to keep her feelings inside to protect herself by staying silent. That habit does not break easily. "What can we do?" asked. "Keep doing what you are doing. Love her, be patient. Let her know that she is safe. Eventually, when she is ready, she will find her voice." Tried not to be frustrated. She told herself that it did not matter if Bora ever spoke. The child was happy, she was healthy, she was loved. That should be enough. And it was enough mostly. But sometimes, late at night, wished she could hear Bora call her mother, just once. The breakthrough came on an ordinary Tuesday. Was walking through the corridor outside the engine room, carrying a tablet full of sensor data that he needed to analyze. The floor was wet from a recent cleaning and he was not paying attention. His foot slipped. His body twisted. He fell hard, his arm bending in a way that arms were not supposed to bend. The sound of his scream echoed through the deck. Bora was in the recreation room 3 corridors away, playing a game that Minyu had taught her. When she heard the scream, something inside her changed. Her eyes went wide. Her body went rigid. Then she was running, faster than any human could run, her claws clicking against the metal floor as she raced toward the sound. She found on the ground, his face pale with pain, his right arm bent at a terrible angle. 2 crew members were already there, calling for medical help, trying to keep him calm. They saw Bora coming and moved aside, unsure what she would do. Bora dropped to her knees beside. Her violet eyes examined his injury with an intensity that seemed almost medical. Then she looked at his face, saw the tears streaming from his eyes, and made a decision. She placed herself between and everyone else. Her claws extended, her teeth bared. A low, warning growl rumbled from her chest. She was not attacking anyone. She was protecting. She was standing guard over someone she loved, daring anyone to cause him more pain. The medical team arrived moments later. Doctor led them, carrying equipment to treat the fracture. When she approached, Bora's growl grew louder. "Bora," said calmly, keeping her voice soft and gentle, "I need to help. He is hurt. Will you let me help him?" Bora looked at her. Then she looked at who was watching her with wonder despite his pain. "It is okay," managed to say through gritted teeth. "They are friends, Bora. They are here to help, I promise." For a long moment, Bora did not move. Her instincts told her to protect, to fight, to trust no one. But her heart told her something different. These people had never hurt her. They had only ever shown her kindness. Maybe, just maybe, she could trust them with someone she cared about. She stepped aside. But she did not leave. She stayed right there, watching every move the medical team made, ready to intervene if anything seemed wrong. When they moved onto a stretcher, she followed. When they took him to the medical bay, she followed. When they began treating his broken arm, she sat in the corner and watched with those intense violet eyes. The procedure took 2 hours. Had to reset the bone, inject healing agents, and attach a regeneration sleeve that would speed the recovery process. Through all of it, Bora did not move. She did not eat. She did not drink. She simply watched, a small guardian angel with scales and claws. When it was finally over, when was resting comfortably with his arm properly bandaged, Bora approached his bedside. She moved slowly, carefully, as if afraid of disturbing him. Opened his eyes and smiled when he saw her. "Hey there, little one. Thank you for protecting me." Bora reached out and gently touched his uninjured hand. The touch was so careful, so soft, that felt tears forming in his eyes again. This fierce little predator, this child that the galaxy wanted to destroy, was showing more gentleness than many humans he had known. Her voice was rough and unused, barely louder than a whisper, but it was there, an actual word spoken aloud for the first time since she had come aboard. Hurt. The medical bay went completely silent, stopped what she was doing. The nurses froze, even the machines seemed to hold their breath. Stared at her with wide eyes. "You spoke," he breathed. "Bora, you spoke." She tilted her head, confused by his reaction. Of course she spoke. He had asked her if he was okay, so she asked him the same thing. That was how conversation worked. "Hurt?" she asked again, more insistent this time. "Hurt bad?" No, smile was so wide it looked almost painful. "No, I am okay. The doctors fixed me. I will be fine, I promise." Bora considered this. She looked at his bandaged arm, then at his face, checking for any sign that he was lying. She found none. "Good," she said. Then she pressed her forehead against his uninjured hand in the gesture of family trust. Family protect. Could not help it. He started crying, tears of joy streaming down his face. "Yes," he agreed, his voice choked with emotion. "Family protect. You protected me, Bora. You are my family." Arrived 15 minutes later, having heard the news from a crew member who could barely contain their excitement. She burst into the medical bay to find sitting up in bed, Bora perched beside him, and trying very hard not to cry. "Is it true?" asked, her voice trembling. "Did she really speak?" Bora looked up at her mother. Those violet eyes, once filled with fear and rage, now held nothing but love. "Mother," Bora said. It was just one word, just a single syllable really, but it contained entire universes of meaning. It contained all the nights that had held her through nightmares, all the days that had shown her patience when she could not find words, all the moments of quiet love that had slowly, gently taught Bora that she was precious. Crossed the room in 3 steps and gathered Bora into her arms. She held her daughter tight, tears flowing freely down her cheeks, her heart so full it felt like it might burst. "My little one," she whispered. "My brave, beautiful little one." Bora wrapped her arms around his neck. Her translator struggled with her next words, but the meaning was perfectly clear. "I was scared," she said quietly. "Scared words make me weak. Scared if I speak you leave like others, but you never leave, you stay, always stay, so I'm not scared anymore." Pulled back just enough to look at her daughter's face. She wiped the tears from Bora's eyes with gentle fingers. "I will always stay," she promised. "No matter what, you are my daughter, Bora. Nothing will ever change that." Bora smiled. It was a strange smile, not quite human, showing too many teeth, but it was the most beautiful thing had ever seen. "Okay," Bora said. "Then I talk now, lots to say." And she did. From that day forward, Bora talked constantly. She asked questions about everything. She shared her thoughts on the ship, the crew, the stars. She told about her dreams and her fears and her hopes for the future. She had been silent for so long because silence was safe. But now she had found something better than safety. She had found love. And love gave her the courage to speak. 3 years changed everything and nothing. The galaxy still turned, stars still burned, ships still crossed the empty spaces between worlds. The gentle dawn still flew its missions, exploring and mapping and discovering. But inside the ship, the changes were profound. Bora was 9 years old now by human measurement. She had grown tall, nearly as tall as, with scales that shone like polished emeralds under the ship's lights. Her violet eyes, once wild with fear, now sparkled with intelligence and curiosity. She spoke 3 languages fluently, read books faster than most adults, and was taking advanced courses in stellar navigation. She still slept in quarters. She still called her mother. Some things, the important things, had not changed at all. The galaxy outside had changed too, though in ways no one had expected. The Empire, weakened by centuries of war and isolation, had finally sued for peace. Their population was declining. Their resources were depleted. They could no longer sustain the endless conflicts that had defined them for generations. For the first time in living memory, diplomats sat at the same table as representatives from the Galactic Council. Peace treaties were negotiated. Borders were established. Old wounds were not healed, but they had at least stopped bleeding. And they wanted their children back. The envoy arrived on a bright Tuesday morning ship time. His name was Talon, and he looked exactly like what a warrior should look like. Massive, eyes like cold fire. He had fought in more battles than most people could count. He had killed enemies with his bare claws. He was a legend among his people. But he had not come to fight. He had come to make an offer. "The Empire has heard stories of a young one living among humans," Talon said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "A child from the Void Walker clan, lost in a pirate attack 3 years ago. We believed her dead. We mourned her as dead, but now we learn she lives." Captain sat across from the envoy in the ship's main conference room. Stood behind him, Bora at her side. The rest of the senior staff filled the other chairs, watching the exchange with careful attention. "Her name is Bora," said calmly. "She has been part of our crew for 3 years." Bora, Talon tested the word, a human name. A name her mother gave her. Talon's eyes moved too. There was no hostility in his gaze, only curiosity. "You are the one who saved her. The stories say you let her bite you, let her claw you, never fought back." "The stories are true," replied. "She was scared and alone. She needed someone to be patient with her." "Do not understand patience." Talon's voice carried something that might have been regret. "We teach our young to fight, to compete, to survive. Kindness is weakness. Love is a distraction. These are the lessons we pass down through generations." He paused. Perhaps these lessons were wrong. The words hung in the air like smoke. "Why are you here, envoy?" asked. "I am here to offer the young one a choice." Talon turned his gaze to Bora, who had been watching the entire conversation with unreadable eyes. "Little one, your true people await you. The Empire is changing. We need those who can help us change. You would be trained in the old ways, given honor, made strong. You would be a bridge between our people and the galaxy we have warred against for so long." Bora listened without moving. When Talon finished, she did not respond immediately. Instead, she looked at, and then Minyu, and all the others who had become her family over the past 3 years. Then she spoke. "You offer me strength," she said, her voice clear and steady. "You say I will be trained, given honor, made powerful. These are virtues. These are what my birth parents would have wanted for me." Talon nodded, a hint of approval in his expression. "But I have to ask you something." Bora stepped forward, moving away from side to stand directly in front of the massive warrior. "When I was alone in that broken ship, surrounded by death, starving and terrified, where was the Empire? When pirates killed my parents and left me to die, where was the strength you speak of? Where was the honor?" Talon's expression flickered. He had no answer. "I will tell you where it was," Bora continued. "It was nowhere. The Empire did not save me. The Empire did not even look for me. I was alone, and I would have died alone if not for these humans." She gestured at the people around her. "They found me. They saved me. They took me in when the entire galaxy told them I was a monster. When I bit them, they did not bite back. When I clawed them, they did not punish me. They just kept loving me over and over until I finally understood that love was possible." Her violet eyes met Talon's. You offer me strength, envoy, but my mother gave me something better. She gave me warmth when I was cold, food when I was starving, arms that held me when I screamed. She gave me a home. Bora returned to side and took her mother's hand. I am by blood. My scales are green, my claws are sharp, my eyes see in the dark, but I am human by heart. These people chose me, not because I was useful, not because I was strong, but because I needed them and they could not turn away from someone who needed them. She looked at Talon with something that was not quite pity, but close to it. That is what humanity is. That is what they taught me, and I will not give it up, not for honor, not for strength, not for anything. The conference room was completely silent. Talon stared at the young girl, this child who spoke with the confidence of a warrior, but the wisdom of something more. You choose them, he said finally. You choose the humans over your own kind. I choose my family, Bora corrected. My kind is whoever loves me. My people are whoever stands beside me. These humans are my family. This ship is my home. And if the Empire cannot understand that, then the Empire is not ready to change. Talon was quiet for a long time. Then slowly, he lowered his head in a gesture of respect. Perhaps you are right, he said softly. Perhaps we have much to learn from the humans after all. He raised his head and looked at. You have raised a remarkable child, Commander. They are in your debt. Keep the debt, replied. Just take the lesson back to your people. Teach them that strength is not the only virtue. Teach them that kindness does not have to be weakness. Teach them that even the fiercest warriors can learn to love. Talon departed that evening, his ship slipping back into the dark between stars. He had come to take a child back to the Empire. He left with something more valuable, a glimpse of what could become if they learned to see the universe differently. That night Bora and sat together at the observation window, watching the stars drift past. It had become their ritual over the years. No matter how busy the day had been, they always found time for this. Just the two of them together, sharing the silence. Mother, Bora said quietly. Yes, little one. When I grow up, I want to be a captain, like Uncle. I want my own ship. Smiled, I think you would be an excellent captain. What would you do with your ship? Bora was quiet for a moment thinking. Then she spoke. I would find the lost ones, the scared ones, the children who think nobody wants them. I would find them and bring them home the way you found me. Her violet eyes reflected the starlight. I would show them what you showed me. That even the fiercest hearts, even the angriest hearts, even the hearts that bite and claw and push everyone away, those hearts just need someone who will not give up on them. Felt tears forming in her eyes. She pulled her daughter close, holding her tight against the endless dark outside. You have already learned the most important thing, whispered. The thing that makes humans different from everyone else. What is that? Pressed a kiss to her daughter's scaled forehead. We do not give up on people, ever. No matter how hard they push us away. No matter how many times they hurt us. We keep trying. We keep loving. We keep believing that everyone deserves a chance to be good. Bora considered this. Then she smiled, showing too many teeth, looking both fierce and gentle at the same time. Then I am definitely human, she said, because I believe that too. Outside the window, the galaxy turned. Billions of stars, billions of worlds, billions of stories unfolding in the endless dark. Most of them were cold. Most of them were harsh. Most of them did not care about kindness or love or hope. But on one small ship, sailing through the black, a human woman held a child, and together they proved that the universe could be different. That even in the darkest places, light could grow. That even the fiercest cubs just needed someone to love them. And that humanity's greatest strength had never been their ships or their weapons or their technology. It had always been their hearts.